from Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Coming up later on, our infamous roundtable gets together. We'll see what kind of controversies they get into. But between now and then, some great guests and important information coming your way. For example, we're going to continue our series of interviews with candidates who are running for Congress in the newly formed 6th District. We have 2 special candidates that we'll feature today, so stay tuned for that. And also later in the program, we'll talk about the UNCG School of Nursing, all that and much more. But first, we turn our attention to an old friend with a new name. I'm not talking about the 2 ladies next to me. They're neither old nor have new names. But on my immediate right, our good buddy Sharon Joyner Payne, who's Executive Vice President of Corporate Communications and Great Teams at Inmar. And Sharon brought a special guest with her today. Holly Pavlica is Senior Vice President of Corporate Marketing at Inmar. And welcome, ladies. Good to see you.
Good. Thank you.
You thought I was calling you old there for a second. No, that's not. An old friend. Inmar. Inmar is the old friend with the new name, but I'm going to find out about the new name in a second. Sharon, let me start with you first. 2020 is a big year for the company because I heard you have a big anniversary. So I want to know what anniversary this is and what's the secret to the longevity.
Okay. Well, we're turning 40 this year, which is really pretty remarkable and actually unique, because if you look at the statistics from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, they'll tell you most companies don't last past 5 years.
That's right.
So for us to be at 40 is pretty special. And I think really the key to our success started back with John Whitaker as our founder, who was a visionary, and he used technology to actually transform the coupon processing industry.
People used to have printed coupons.
That's right.
And some people still do, but he figured that there was a different way to do that. And
That's
then
right.
David Mounts, our good buddy, the CEO, chairman, came in and sort of energized it in a different direction. And
he did. He came in and actually saw, he's a visionary too, as you know. You've talked with him often.
Yeah.
And he really saw the opportunity in the areas of media and analytics and data. And he started to transform us in a different way. And so it's been pretty exciting, because today we're really a comprehensive tech-enabled services company, and we have the right applications and the platforms and the expertise, and it was really kind of time for us to sort of look at what we needed to do from a branding and positioning perspective, given how much we transformed.
You know how I knew that David was a visionary?
How?
He came up to me one day and said, "I'm a visionary." No, he didn't say that. He did not say that. All right, Holly, we said I was going to keep people in suspense. What is officially the new name?
The new name is Inmar Intelligence.
Okay, now you have the logo and everything, and we'll show that in a little later. But what was the thought behind the new kind of branding?
So over the past 40 years, there's been quite an evolution, from the early days of paper coupons. So we needed the brand to match the strategy. So we spent about 18 months doing due diligence across all the different departments, clients, surveys, and even explored a totally different new name, but kept sort of the core of Inmar, but added intelligence so that people would have a better understanding of what we do.
I knew you were going to shake things up when we met each other over at Inmar one day, and he said, "Here's Holly," and Holly said, "Who cares about Jim? She was just very rude." No, that's not true. But I knew you had something. I could just see the look in your eyes. You're going to shake things out. And here we have this new name and everything. No, I think it's great. Sharon, David Mounts has also talked a lot about growth.
Yes.
Of not just the company but the community. Now, how is the growth of Inmar Intelligence also benefited the community?
Yeah. Well, it's great, because I think one of the things it does is it helps us from a retention standpoint, keeping kind of what I call our homegrown folks, the ones we hire and we want them to stay until they retire, as well as those from the local university and colleges that we want to recruit. But it's not just about us. It is about the other organizations in the community, as well as Venture Cafe and the government, who's really come together and formed a very vibrant community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to put up on screen, so before we lose time here, for more information, visit www.inmar.com for the radio listening audience. Inmar.com for Inmar Intelligence is the new name. Holly, were you thinking of me when you added that name, Intelligence, to the...
Of course, I knew that right from the minute I met you.
Yeah, don't answer that. Holly's not going to answer that. No, I'm glad we finally got you over to the studio. Sharon, thank you, and say hello to David, and congratulations on the new name.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back on Triad Today, and it's time to meet another one of the candidates running in the newly formed 6th Congressional District, which includes Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem, all of Guilford, and much of Forsyth. Rhonda Fox served as Chief of Staff for Congresswoman Alma Adams, our friend, and she co-founded the Black Women's Congressional Alliance. She also launched HBCU House, a platform that connects students to 21st century career opportunities. Rhonda has a law degree from George Washington University. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me
Thanks
today.
for being here.
Of course.
All right, here's the big question I ask everybody. We'll start out. Why are you running for Congress?
I am running because after working for 6 different women in federal politics and policy, I can tell you that Congress, which we call the people's house, doesn't look like the people. And our everyday issues and communities are being left behind. And I think that that is a grave injustice that we are all facing.
All right, when you're elected, what priorities would you like to work on, issues, problems?
Yeah, number one, I think we've got to get real about fixing our criminal justice system. I think it's leaving way too many folks behind. I am committed and passionate about lowering the cost of education and making that accessible for all. Brother MLK told us that the greatest equalizer is education. Everyone should have access to that. I'm proud to be the only candidate in my race that supports Medicare for all, and I believe in that because we can no longer tolerate a system where one skin tone and zip code determines their outcome.
Yeah, people that say that you can't afford Medicare for all, it makes me a little angry because there's always a way to do what you need to do, right?
Sir, I will tell you that is what I say all up and down the district. It's an issue of priorities. And I ask for voters to look at the candidates in this race and see whose priorities match the needs of the communities. We have the money, we just have to have the priorities.
Yeah, and going back to criminal justice, since you mentioned it, let me just pick your brain on this. As you know, there's now 15 states that have decriminalized marijuana, small amounts of recreational marijuana. In one way or the other, although it's still illegal in larger quantities. Here in North Carolina, even trying to make an attempt for district attorneys to say we're not going to imprison people for having a little bit of marijuana. Would you like to see a federal law passed that covers the whole country on decriminalization?
I certainly would. I stand for that. I am a champion of that. Look, I have been through our broken criminal justice system. I have experienced it firsthand, and what it boils down to is we are processing more crime than our systems can handle. Our system was designed to make us safer. Small amounts of marijuana, cannabis are not making us safer. It's just clogging our system and we're trampling on people's constitutional rights. Legalizing and decriminalizing marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, is a common sense thing.
Right. What about the term limits, for or against?
Against. The power is in the people. It is not up to any member of Congress to determine who can go to office, when, and how. That's up to the people, and the people will issue their own term limits.
Can the people always do that, though, if they've been gerrymandered to such an extent that maybe they feel disenfranchised?
Can I tell you, I always say to voters, yes, the 6th district is important, and it is imperative that we not just have a Democrat, but that we have the right Democrat. But right now, the most important races that our district is facing is that North Carolina General Assembly. We have got to either take back the state house or the state senate to ensure that we can have independent redistricting commissions.
Final thing before we run out of time, what about your background and your experience would make you an effective Congresswoman?
We have this district right now for 2 years. We need someone that can hit the ground running on day one, that knows how to get to the appropriations room, knows how to get on key committees, has the relationships. I have that. We've got to start driving down resources to deal with our everyday issues. And that is the difference between me and all of my colleagues in this race.
Rhonda, I appreciate you coming.
I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you so very much,
All right,
sir.
good to see you. Well, now you can visit Rhonda's website at rhondafox.com. That's rhondafox.com for the radio listening audience. You can also watch this interview again Saturday, February 29th on ABC 45 and Sunday, March 1st on I-48 when we showcase all 7 candidates running for Congress in the 6th District. These voter education segments are made possible in part by the good folks at True Lion Federal Credit Union. Their website is on screen as well. We'll be right back. Triad Today, and it's time to meet another one of our candidates running in the newly formed 6th Congressional District, which includes Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem, all of Guilford, and much of Forsyth. Ed Haynes is a graduate of the UNC School of Law and was a Fulbright Scholar. For 6 years, he represented Forsyth County in the North Carolina House of Representatives, then joined the law firm of Kilpatrick, Townsend, and Stockton, and is now president of the Haynes Group. Why are you running for Congress? I want to know, because you've been in the legislature, and I thought, well, maybe Ed's finished with politics.
Yeah.
Then you come back. Why?
I think everybody feels like they're finished until you sit at home a little bit and you see the rancor that's going on in Washington, D.C. And I'm a father. I have 2 little girls, and I really did sit back and think about how the life I wanted them to live growing up. And I saw the open district that we worked so hard for to get established while I was in Raleigh, and I thought it'd be a good time for me to put my name back in the hat. I also felt like I had the most experience at the highest level state government of any of the candidates that we had in the race at that point. I've actually been able to work across the aisle and cut through the noise and actually get what I call life-saving social justice legislation passed. I think we have the most dynamic slate of legislation in the last 8 years that we were able to pass as a Democrat. And so I wanted to bring that same expertise and experience to Washington, D.C.
You know, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I just want to pick your brain about gerrymandering for a second, because by the luck of the draw or whatever, this district, the newly formed district, is now going to favor a Democrat.
Sure.
That's just that's what it is.
Sure.
That doesn't mean a Democrat will win, but it favors a Democrat. So here's my question. On the good side for you Democrats, it's working.
Yeah.
But gerrymandering is not a good thing either way. So you're in there for the luck of the draw now. What do you do once you get in?
Well, listen, gerrymandering is not a good thing. It's kind of one of the evils of what happens when certain parties get in power, and that can be sometimes Democrat, sometimes Republican. We need fair districting, first and foremost, no question about it. But remember, this district resulted from what the courts termed an intentional disenfranchisement of African American voters and Democrats in general.
Right.
And so the Republicans had this district drawn. I will tell you, they had the district drawn 3 or 4 years ago. They knew it was going to happen if they were caught in this piece, and they were, and so they delivered the district. They were ready to go with it. They delivered the district, and so we just have to move forward and be responsible going forward. Once the census happens, we've got to be responsible.
All right, once elected to Congress, what will be your priorities that you want to work on, issues or problems?
Yeah, so right away we're going to go right back to the same program we had when we were in Raleigh. First of all, creating relationships across the aisle. Second of all, looking at social justice opportunities, criminal justice reform opportunities, and education. And so in Raleigh, we were able to do a wrongful expunction and exoneration bill, so that if you are exonerated by the state for a crime, you don't walk out with an arrest record. Darrell Hunt in this district went to his grave with an arrest record for a crime he didn't commit. Yeah. We're going to do that. We're going to focus on education. We're going to make sure, nationally speaking, we do the same thing there that we did here in North Carolina, and ensure that poor kids who score really highly on their standardized tests are not subjugated to lower level math and science classes because of their socioeconomic standing. In North Carolina, that's what was happening. More affluent kids with lower scores were taking the place of poor kids. So we're going to do that. We want to look at body camera, and police training to make sure that we have those police community relationships in play. And we want to do it nationally. We have an issue there that we've been working on. It's been getting better. But today in North Carolina, because of legislation that I ran, there are more police officers wearing body cameras today than ever before. Community relationships are better, and there's better accountability.
A few seconds left.
Yes, sir.
What about your background? You've already answered this in part, but very quickly, what about your background and experience will make you effective to break that gridlock when you go up there?
It's the business background. It's the background of working in a major law firm, having my own business, and understanding how to develop relationships, and the necessity of doing so early. It's the ability to get things done, and having proven that I can do it, and I have done it at the highest levels.
Well, good luck, sir, and I thank you for dropping by, Ed.
All right, thank you.
All right. Now, you can visit Ed's website at www.edhainesforcongress.com for the radio listening audience. That's edhainesforcongress.com. You can also watch this interview again Saturday, February 29th on ABC 45 and Sunday, March 1st on My 48, when we showcase all 7 candidates running for Congress in the 6th District. These voter education segments are made possible in part by the good folks at True Lion Federal Credit Union. Their website is on screen. We'll be right back. Now on Triad Today, I always like it when we can get a special guest from UNCG, my alma mater, although they don't claim me. And next to me is the very lovely Dr. Carrie Hill. She's a clinical assistant professor and director of the RN to BSN program. I'm going to find out what that means in a minute at UNCG School of Nursing. Welcome, Doc. Good to see you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
What does, I'm going to play ignorant because I don't have to pretend. I am. RN to BSN, what does that mean?
Well, that means that a lot of people have heard of a registered nurse.
Right.
And that's an RN. And there's many different ways to become an RN. You can go to a diploma program, you can go to an associate's program, or you can get a bachelor's degree.
Right.
And the RN to BSN program is tailored specifically for those nurses out there who have a diploma or an associate's degree and who want to continue their education and get their bachelor's degree.
Okay. Now, what is your role in this program in helping folks?
Well, so I just became the director of the program as of January 1st. And so I'm the director of the program. I guess I'm in charge of making sure that we're doing everything right.
And I know you are. I happen to know you are. But now, who are your typical students?
So we don't have any typical students, I'll tell you that. We have nurses, so those are our typical students, but they can be straight out of their associate's degree program. They can be 21, 22 years old.
Even older?
And we have some that are in their 60s.
Wow.
Coming back to school to get their bachelor's degree.
I like that. That's my group in the 60s. And they, seriously, though, they're coming in to come
Absolutely.
in to get the degree.
Yep.
And now I heard that you're also involved with the Moss Street Partnership School. And we featured that some time ago on the show. It's a great partnership, the elementary school there. Tell us your role with that.
So the School of Nursing, we began our involvement with Moss Street Partnership School this past summer, and I took a group of senior nursing students. So those were the students that are just getting ready to graduate here in a couple months in May, and as part of their population health course, we developed a clinical site there, and so I took students there every week to see what we could do to help out the elementary school.
Isn't that great? You're also a pediatric nurse, so I want to ask you this. Give me a couple examples of things that parents can do to ensure the health and safety of their children these days.
Well, a lot of that depends on the developmental level of the child.
Sure.
And so certainly taking care of an infant is a lot different than taking care of a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old. And so a lot of it depends on how old the child is. You know, the things that you watch out for an infant are a lot different than the things that you would watch out for a 10-year-old.
Right.
But you know, we're coming into flu season and
Oh, yeah.
all the big respiratory viruses. And so one of the biggest things that you can do that we preach to our nurses is wash your hands.
Oh, yeah.
We can't stress enough how much washing your hands is so important, or using the Purell, the hand sanitizer. It's very, very important.
Absolutely, and because little kids go to school with other little kids and they just love to swap flu germs, don't they?
They do, and we always say that the way that a lot of smaller children and toddlers explore their world is through their mouth.
Yeah.
And so anything that they see, they pick up and they immediately put it in their mouth.
Man, that's me and chocolate cake. That's why I'm overweight. Now, before time runs out, what led you to want to do this career in healthcare and nursing?
It wasn't my original career. My original career was actually doing benchtop research for vaccine companies, and I wanted to actually help and take care of people directly rather than work in a lab.
I think that's great.
And so I went back to school and became a nurse, and then just never stopped from there.
So the bug sort of got in you about when? How many years ago?
I've been a nurse for 15 years.
Wow.
And really, if I'm being honest, the one reason that I did
Well,
it
we
was
don't like
because,
that on this show.
because my sister told me that I probably wouldn't become a good nurse. And so I wanted to do it just
Well,
to...
boo on her, because you have, and we're so glad you did. Up on screen before time runs out, nursing.uncg.edu is the specific website, which I hope you'll go to. For the radio listening audience, again, nursing.uncg.edu, and the basic website for the university, uncg.edu. Dr. Carrie Hill, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Will you come back and see us sometime?
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable. I want to ask you to pick up your copy of Yes Weekly, and it's everywhere, and it's free, and pick it up, will you? I mean, we all read it, I think. Yes. Anyway, speaking of reading, Believe in Miracles, A Chicken Soup for the Soul, a new book, has a chapter written by none other than Carol Andrews. How about that? That's good. Yeah. I'm all right. On my right, but always political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcasting journalist. Next to him, the lovely, talented author, Carol Andrews, also the face of ABC 45, My 48, and Keith Granberry, who you may not know was the best man in all three of Trump's weddings. No, Keith is founder of Helping Hands Consultants, doing a great job all over the world. All right, guys and gals, let's get to a serious one. Let's do this serious topic first. This is disturbing. There have been 2 shooting deaths at Haynes Mall in the past 6 months. Should shopping malls be required by law to have metal detectors at every main entrance? Ogie Overman.
I asked my wife this question, and she thinks they should, but I'm not there yet. Think about Christmas time having to go in.
You're not for it.
I don't like
Carol
that
Andrews.
idea.
Well, are they going to make the stores do it? Every store has an entrance. They have their own entrance.
Not
so if
everyone.
you only have, well, a lot of them do.
The anchor
The big
ones.
stores do. And so if I have a gun, I mean, I'm not even a thief or a criminal, and I think if I wanted to get in, I'd just go through one of those stores. So,
Well, you would have to require it of those too. All the tenants who have
so
a main
all
entrance.
the tenants
yeah,
would have them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That would work.
I still
Keith,
don't
what do you
know.
think?
So who's going to search all of these people? You're going to have a metal detector. What happens after it goes off? Who's
I didn't get
searching
that
it?
far.
Oh, you didn't get that far?
No, I didn't get that far.
Absolutely
So
not.
I'm sort of I'm getting the feeling that I'm getting the feeling that y'all don't think this is practical.
I don't think it's practical.
I don't.
Some cities are now allowing homeless people to take shelter if they can't find anywhere else. Take shelter in parking garages at night. Good idea or bad idea, Ogie?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, you'd have to have it monitored a bit, either volunteers or have some kind of paid employee. But yeah, I think anything
Keep
that
them out
gets
of
them
the snow
off
and
the
the
streets
rain and
is a good thing.
Carol.
I think it's good if they do it, if it's monitored. Otherwise, I see a lot of trouble brewing, and there could be liability for people that own those structures, especially
Starting
if they're not
fires in there, what,
city
Keith?
structures.
I think you said something last week about these money for stadiums and coliseums.
Yeah.
Why don't you put some of that money in housing for the homeless?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Earlier this year, let's do a political question. Earlier this year, Bernie Sanders said he wants to allow convicted felons to vote while in prison. We covered that on the show before, but now Elizabeth Warren says if elected, and this is absolutely true, if elected, she will let a transgender high school student choose her Secretary of Education. What do y'all think of Warren's plan, and is this kind of wacky statement going to help or hurt the Democrats in the fall? Ogie?
That's a little wacky. I mean, she could pick somebody off the street and get what better than what we've got now.
Yeah.
But these statements like that, that's just plain politics.
Carol.
Really.
I mean, I think it's kind of an insult to people who are transgender. Like, well, I'll just get you and you make the, and I just think that creates trouble.
Yeah, Keith.
I think it's going to hurt her. You're pandering to a certain group, and I think that's insulting to that group.
Right. And it's fine once she gets elected. She wants to, and somebody happens to be a qualified secretary or a cabinet secretary who happens to be transgender, then fine. But to put a high school student on there,
Sort of like when she said she had Indian in her, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah.
There's a joke there too, but I don't want to go into that. Last week, very quickly, the Virginia General Assembly, we mentioned, became the 38th state to ratify the 1972 Equal Rights Amendment, which means Congress can now, if they want to, extend the 1982 deadline for ratification, and it could become officially law. You think Congress will do this, and we'll finally have the ERA as our 28th Amendment? Quickly, Ogie.
If the Democrats take it over the General Assembly, it will happen. Otherwise, it will never happen.
All right, Carol.
I just don't see Congress enacting anything that's even remotely controversial.
Keith.
I think they won't unless the Democrats take over, absolutely. But the Democrats take over, it will happen.
Okay. A Jewish couple is suing American Airlines because they were kicked off a flight. The airline says it was because they had really bad body odor. The couple says it's because of their religion. Now, religious arguments aside, here's my question. Should an airline be allowed to remove a passenger because of body odor? Ogie Overman.
Taking the religious question out of
Take
it.
it out of it.
I still think yes. I'm just offended by body odor.
Let them take
I'm
it
sorry.
out. Carol.
I think that it has to be clearly put somewhere. It has to be straight across the board, equally done for people. I would rather see the airline find something else, like drop the air mask and put a nice scent in it if people are offended.
Right.
Because sometimes
Happens.
it just is.
Keith.
I think if you start doing that, then there's certain scents that offend people. It may be a different scent. So you can't say just because you have body odor, we're going to exclude you. And I don't think that that's why they put them off the plane. I think it was probably because of their religion.
Really?
That's what I believe.
That's interesting. All right. Finally, speaking of bad smells, not necessarily that couple, just in general, a South Carolina animal sanctuary has taken in over 200 abused pigs. They've now rehabilitated the pigs. They're cute pigs. They're not these little tiny ones. They're big, full-grown pigs. And they're trying to place them in good homes. So my final question to you guys is, would you be willing to adopt a pig? Ogie.
Under the right, if I had the land and the house to do it, yeah. I knew a couple that had a pig. It was the funniest, greatest little pig. They're great pets. They're smarter than dogs.
You would adopt one?
They don't stink.
No.
They're fine. Yeah,
They wouldn't be
pigs are
kicked
great
off.
pets.
They wouldn't be kicked
Absolutely.
off a plane.
They're absolutely
Carol,
fine.
would you adopt a pig?
No, I'd just send it to his house.
That's good, Carol. That's very progressive, Carol. Keith, would you adopt a
You
pig?
always have this last thing as a joke. You know good and well, I know some pigs, but I would not adopt a pig.
You know some pigs,
I know a lot of pigs,
you
but
know
I would
some-
not adopt a pig.
You're not going to name any of the pigs.
No, I'm
are
not
you?
gonna name
All right,
any
well,
pigs
that's all the
today.
time we have, except for this. Last week, the head of Victoria's Secret announced he is planning to step down from the sexy lingerie company. Asked if the CEO's retirement will have an effect on profits, one stockholder said, absolutely. As you know, when dealing with women's underwear, success comes from the top down.
All right.
All right, there it
Very
is.
nice.
Do you
Very nice.
what does
I
that
did not-
mean?
No, I have no idea.
What does that mean, Ogie?
Let me tell you off the
All
air
right.
exactly
No,
what that means.
for all,
You have to tell me too.
for all of us, we're going out to adopt some pigs. We'll be back next week. Let's see. Good job, guys.